Hi, today I'll be comparing structured literacy with balanced literacy, talking about the key elements and methods of structured literacy, explaining why it's effective for all students, and finally, walking through two error correction procedures we can use when a student makes a mistake while reading. So, let's compare structured literacy versus balanced literacy. In balanced literacy, it started as the whole language approach, and phonics was later integrated, later added on. The problem is that balanced literacy often asks kids to use picture clues or context to guess words instead of actually learning how to decode them, which is really important. Properly learning how to decode. So this means students might get by for a while, but they miss out on those strong foundational skills that they truly need. So, looking at structured literacy, on the other hand, is built on decades of research. It's systematic, explicit, and teacher directed. So instead of just having the students guess, they are working step by step to figure out how sounds, letters, syllables, and word parts work together. Structured literacy gives students the actual tools to read and comprehend, so not just strategies to get by or to get around difficult words. So, if we look at it, balanced literacy is less direct and assumes students pick up reading, while structured literacy systematically teaches the code and meaning of the language. All right, let's move on to the elements, principles, and methods of structured literacy. Some of the main elements of structured literacy include phonology, which is the sounds in words, working with the sounds in words, sound syllable corresponding, so mapping the letters to the sounds, syllable types like closed syllables with short vowels, morphology, so prefixes, suffixes, root words, and vocabulary and comprehension. So students don't just read words, but they truly understand the meaning of the text and are able to come up with themes, ideas, that kind of thing from the text. So, the principles and methods are also really important. The instruction in structured literacy is explicit and direct, so the teacher models and explains clearly. It is also systematic and cumulative, so the skills are taught in a logical order, and old skills are often reviewed to reinforce those skills as well with the new ones. And it is also diagnostic, so the teacher monitors progress and adjusts instruction as needed or any kind of intervention as needed for any learner. And it is also guided to independent, so students move from practicing with support and later on to working on their own, which is really important because we want these students to read on their own, and because that is the goal, being able to read on their own. And finally, structured is hands-on and engaging. It often uses multi-sensory activities like tapping out sounds, moving counters, Elkonin boxes, which is something I plan on implementing in the future, Elkonin boxes. And it really helps keep students active and involved in learning. So, the reason for using structured literacy. Structured literacy works for all students, but it's especially effective for struggling readers or students with dyslexia. There has been research shown that children don't read naturally. They need that direct teaching, so it's truly important. Structured literacy makes sure that they get those essential building blocks early on so they don't fall behind as texts get harder or as they move up grade levels, go on to first grade, second grade, third grade, and so on, because the texts do get harder and do progress. And even with students who pick up reading quickly, they also benefit from structured literacy because it strengthens both decoding and comprehension, and it makes them more confident and independent learners. So let's look at the error correction procedures. So, a student is reading connected text and makes an error. One correction procedure is to prompt the student to self correct themselves. So, for example, if they're reading caught instead of cat, you might say check the vowels sound. So, this works best when the student already has the knowledge and just needs a little reminder or a little push to use it. Another procedure is to model the correct word and have the student repeat it. This is useful when the concept is new or too difficult because it prevents them from practicing the wrong word. So, prompting is best when students can self correct with a nudge, with a little push, while modeling is better when the skill is brand new or not yet mastered. All right, to wrap up, balanced literacy relies more on guessing strategies and is less direct instruction, while structured literacy gives students explicit, systematic tools to read and understand text, which is, again, really very important. It includes elements like phonology, syllables, morphemes, vocabulary, and comprehension, and is taught all while being taught through engaging, hands-on methods. And it truly does work for every student, but it is especially powerful for struggling readers. And when errors happen, teachers or we can choose between prompting, self-correction, or modeling the correct word, depending on what the student needs at the moment and where they are at with their reading and their reading level. So structured literacy has been proven effective, and it is really the best way to help students become confident lifelong readers. Thank you for listening.